Teacher talking sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And today, I want to continue a series that has been a little bit infrequent as of recent. I call it Is He a Hall of Famer? Where I take a look at a former professional athlete or maybe an athlete whose career is winding down. Take a look at how his career unfolded. Decide if whether I believe that person should be in their sports professional hall of fame. And today, some Pro Football Hall of Fame finalists were announced. So I wanted to do a former all time wide receiver who has yet to make the Hall of Fame, even though his career has been over for more than 3 decades. If you haven't heard the news, I'm talking about Sterling Sharpe. So we see here ESPN, Mike Holmgren, Sterling Sharpe among Pro Football Hall of Fame finalists. I just got out of work. We see on First Take, looks like Shannon Sharpe's talking about Sterling Sharpe, his brother, being among the 3 senior finalists for the Hall of Fame enshrinement, along with Maxie Ballhan and Jim Tyrer. The article mentions also Mike Holmgren was a coach of Sterling Sharpe for, I believe, 2 seasons, maybe 3. Let's see where. So Sharpe had a short but productive career for the Packers from '88 to '94. Best season came in '92, where he became the 6th player to win the receiving Triple Crown, setting an NFL record at the time with 108 catches, 1,461 yards, and 13 touchdowns. Broke his own record with 112 catches in 1993. Smith and Ballhan were never finalists during their time in the modern era category. That's bananas to me. But let's take a look at his season by season numbers. So, well, we say not lengthy at all, right? He played 7 seasons. That's it. How could a guy that only played 7 seasons be a Pro Football Hall of Famer? Well, he was one of the most productive players at the position, really, in NFL history during his time, especially during his era where it wasn't quite as pass friendly as it is today. We see that there is bold ink on his page. 3 times led the league in receptions, as I already mentioned at the time. Those 108 and then 112 receptions were NFL records. 92 led the league in receptions, 108 receiving yards, 1,461 touchdowns, 13. Each of his last 3 seasons had double digit touchdowns. Total of 42 over those 3 seasons, including 18 in his last season, for also adding 94 catches on the year. You see for his career, 72.6 receiving yards per game. Now, he played on some Packers teams that weren't exactly the best, so he just had 1 season where he reached the playoffs, but man, 4 touchdown catches in the 2 games. They beat the Detroit Lions. He had 3 touchdowns in that game. Unfortunately, they lost their next game, but he did score a touchdown as well. He started his career with Don Majkowski, who was a solid quarterback, but Majkowski had many injury problems, and the end of his career did play with Brett Favre, put up those awesome numbers, and it wasn't quite the Brett Favre that we've grown to know today. Brett Favre had some of his MVP-like seasons after Sterling Sharpe left. It was really just the beginning of his time as a full-time starting quarterback with the Green Bay Packers. So can you imagine if Sterling Sharpe didn't get hurt? Yes, his career was only 7 seasons because of a career-ending neck injury, which unfortunately got rid of so much of his prime, because he would have entered the following season at just 30 years old. But we see 5 seasons of over 1,000 yards, 4 seasons double-digit touchdown receptions. He also had, get rid of this ad, he had 3 seasons as a first-team All-Pro, finished 4th and 5th in Offensive Player of the Year voting, and 4th and 8th in MVP voting. Despite the very short career due to the neck injury, still 96th all-time in receptions, 108th all-time in receiving yards, 66th all-time in receiving touchdowns. Now, Pro Football Pro Football Reference does have a Hall of Fame. What do they call it? A Hall of Fame monitor where they give a guy a score depending on their career numbers, Pro Bowls, All Pros, things like that, whether they should be in the Hall of Fame. We see Sterling Sharpe falls behind, a bunch of guys who are not in the Hall of Fame, like a Jimmy Smith, Anquan Bolden, Harold Jackson, Henry Ellard, to name a few. Steve Smith Jr., I believe, has the highest, who's not in yet. But I think part of that is due to the fact that his career was not lengthy at all, and again, really wasn't his fault. And he was very durable prior to that career ending neck injury, as he never missed a game in his 7 seasons. Of course, the NFL regular season was just 16 games at the time. He played all 16 games in each season in the NFL. Now, this is via WSChronicle.com. So it goes over a lot of the things Ron Wolf had to say about him. So it mentions former Green Bay general manager Ron Wolf, who was elected in the Hall of Fame in 2015, spoke about Sharpe on the Eye Test for Two podcast. I think what made him so special was he was really tough, really dedicated the game in his way. He was not intimidated by anything or anybody or any situation. He's a perfect football player. I don't know what else to add to that. He could do everything you would want a receiver to do. He would go anywhere to catch a ball. He would go in and catch it. He would go out and catch it. He would run hooks, run outs, run ups. He was just an exceptional football player. What they need to know is that you have to consider who he played for. Played for a lousy Green Bay Packers team until Mike Holmgren and I got there and kind of changed the fortunes. But he's the reason for the change in 1992 with that collection of players that we had. Mike Holmgren and his staff were able to go 9-7, have a winning record, which was remarkable. But the real reason for that was Brett Favre and Sterling Sharpe. Sure, every defensive coordinator that got ready to play the Packers said, all we have to do is take Sharpe away and we'll beat them. Well, you know what? They never took him away. He led the league in receptions. He was just a tremendous football player. Hard to believe that he was as good as he was, considering what he had around him as a team. Almost similar to like a Barry Sanders, who played on some not so good Detroit Lions teams, but was still as incredible as he was. Now, the article also mentioned guys like Gale Sayers and Terrell Davis, who actually played less than 100 career regular season games. So, as I mentioned, Sharpe played 112. Yes, Terrell Davis, I get it, 2-time Super Bowl winner, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. Gale Sayers, one of the most electric running backs in NFL history. But we've also seen some recent guys get in who also played less than 100 regular season games, thus less career games than Sterling Sharpe. A guy like Tony Baselli, who recently got in a few years back. His career was short due to injuries. And another guy, Kenny Easley, the longtime Seattle Seahawks safety, got in, I believe, in 2017. Also played well less than 100 career regular season games. So we can't even say longevity is the main catalyst as to why he is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you recall, one of the more famous Football Hall of Fame speeches was by his brother Shannon Sharpe, who mentioned, I don't want to exactly quote him, but said in his speech that he's one of the few Hall of Famers that he's not even the most talented in his family, because he was talking about his brother, and he was mentioning how his brother should be in the Hall of Fame. And I have to agree with him in that Shannon was not the most talented player in his family, and that's no knock on him, because I see him probably as a top 5 tight end in NFL history. Played on Super Bowl teams with the Broncos and the Ravens. In Sterling Sharpe's prime, he was probably neck and neck with the guy who many consider the GOAT at the wide receiver position. I'm talking Jerry Rice for best receiver in the game. One of my all-time loves as a child is Tecmo Super Bowl, and I get it, that has nothing to do with the guy's the Hall of Famer, but Sterling Sharpe was awesome in that game. It's a game I go back to time every so often. I was super young when it came out, but Sterling Sharpe was such a beast in the game. So, in my eyes, do I believe Sterling Sharpe is a Hall of Famer? Again, this is the 37th episode I've done, and this might be one of the most emphatic yeses I have to give. I've given some no's on these episodes too, but to me, I've been banging the table. Get Sterling Sharpe in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it. Yes, his career was short. They've let in guys whose careers have been even shorter than Sharpe. Maybe their career was the same length in years, but they played less regular season games because they missed games during their years in the league. Yes, I think Sterling Sharpe gets in, should get in, and I really hope he gets that call to Canton. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Should Sterling Sharpe, an all-time wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.